I'm Pastor Nathan J. Cooper, Northwest Community Church in the north side of the city of Houston, Texas. And I'm here to bring a message for you and I and all those that are listening and giving listening ear. It is well known in a situation, one that we know only God can control. And we just want to let you know, in reference to this virus that we have in our midst, it is a time that we all should rethink our positions and ourselves about our faith and belief in God. And I just wanted to share some things with you that this is not the first time something like this has come along among the human race. And so let me bring your attention to Jeremiah. And many of us remember this. Jeremiah got depressed. In the 8th chapter of the book of Jeremiah, we find that God has, in that day and time, became angry with the sins of mankind. And everybody was trying to run and see what it needed to be done to keep down chaos. Jeremiah saw that the people was continually get sick. It is comparison to today. And so therefore, we must look at the past. God tells us seek the old past through Jeremiah, where righteous is. And when you find it, walk therein. And so Jeremiah addressed this issue to God. And he says, I will surely, in verse 13, consume them. And Jeremiah was talking to the Lord. And so he says that the Lord, they shall bring out the bones of the king of Judah, and the bones of his princes, and the bones of the priests, and the bones of the prophets, and the bones of the inhabitants of Jerusalem out of their graves. They shall spread them before the sun and the moon and all the hosts of heaven, which they have loved and which they have served, and after which they have walked, which they have sought, and which be gathered, not buried. They shall be the refuge of the face of the earth. Then death shall be chosen rather than life. Because of God's anger about sins, and we're doing that same thing now, and we should take heed to those things that has been done in the past. And God give us a way out if we accept it. It's called obedience, called righteousness. And he said, moreover, Jeremiah, you shall say to them, thus says the Lord, will they fall and not rise, with one turn away and not return? Why had this people slidden back Jerusalem in a perpetual backsliding? That means, why have they stopped serving God? Why are they sinning as they do? They were sinning in those days, and they're sinning in our days today. And then he says here, he said, for behold, I will send serpents among you, vipers, which cannot be charmed, and they shall bite you, says the Lord. These are the adversities that in Jeremiah's days they was experiencing. And Jeremiah was curious to find out why there was no healing in that land. He said, I will comfort myself in sorrow. My heart is faint in me. Listen the voice, the cry of the daughters of my people from a far country. Is not the Lord in Zion? Is not her king in her? Why have they provoked me to anger with their graven image, with foreign idols? The harvest is past, the summer is in, and we are not saved. Notice that. And when you talk about this, all the chances that God has given us to get our life together, get right, yet we still go in our own way. Said, for the hurt of the daughters of my people, I am hurt. I'm mourning, Jeremiah said, astonished. It has taken hold of me. So he asks a question. Is there no balm in Gilead? Is there no physician there? Why then is there no recovery for the health of the daughters of my people? Think about that. So Jeremiah asked that question. Why is all these things going along? Why is all these suffering has come upon God's people? But again, in 2 Chronicles 7 and 14, and we're familiar with this, and the answer he found out why all these things happen. All these viruses are going. All these people are dying. And it's no more than what we are doing today. We're neglecting God. So God gave a message to Jeremiah. If my people that are called by my name would humble themselves, and too many of us have a lift up spirit, humble themselves and pray and seek my face, and search for God and his ways, is an example of who he is spiritually. We got to recognize him, that there's no other God beside him. But then also we see is that we're having the same problem. So many sinful things that are going on. All of these things that really offends God. And the Lord said, now we got to humble me, just what it says. You got to humble yourself. But God is God, and he can, even though these things are going on, he's still God enough to protect us, God enough to keep us, even though the disturbance and all of these other chaos that are going on right before in our present. God is telling us that we need to humble ourselves, and we need to seek his face, obey him through obedience. And he talks about these things also in every level of mankind. Whatever he is, whoever he may be, there's no difference. God is no respected person, and he is not a God that shall lie. He is God, the creator of all mankind. And if we turn around and start obeying God, then you have the antidote against these diseases and all these other viruses that it takes. It's in his control. God give us doctors, yes. He said we need a doctor who is sick. But where do you think the doctor get his information? He are instilled through being educated by the hand of God, the Spirit of the Lord himself, and in order to carry out his job and his profession. And so therefore, you can't get around this no matter what we take from man. God has to be in the plan. He got to be there. And matter of fact, God said, we can't do nothing without him. And so, if we stop our sin, if we stop killing, if we stop stealing, if we stop lying, if we start working toward the will of God, because everything that was created by him, and we must obey him. But there's other things that we got to consider. When we talk about in the book of Lamentation 2 and 3, sometimes God allows certain things to come upon us, like he did in those days. And he talks about how sometimes God, because of our obedience, There's two ways. Sometimes he calls things to come upon us. It's called an active and a passive discipline. God sends sometimes judgment direct, like this coronavirus. He sent it direct to us to punish us. And then sometimes he sent it passively. Passively means that he just withdraw his hand. And all of these things, the devil take the advantage of. And he come in and he just have his way. Things come upon us, fever, all kind of sickness come upon us. And he allowed, all he have to do is withdraw his hand. It's obvious right now, man can even identify what is going on, what it is, and a correct antidote. But you'd be surprised when we turn to God, change our ways, start praying, and then start treating one another right. Because if we don't, God sends judgment directly upon us. This is an example of what we're going through right now. And then he's so just, he's so loving. In some ways, he just withdraw his hand. Don't you know? If God withdraw his hands from us, the devil's going to take advantage of all these evil things. But the Bible tells us all things work together for the good of those that love and obey the Lord. And you people out there that knows and believe and have faith in God, you can understand what I'm saying. But if you don't know him, you can seek him. How do I seek him? By obeying his word, by worshiping and praising him, by being a testimony, by living testimony for him to others. God does not tolerate sin, and he is no respecter of person. Whoever does it and won't hear, God will make an example of him or her or whoever it may be. So you don't want God to withdraw his hand of protection. And remember that now, we don't wrestle with flesh and blood, what we're going through, but with principalities and powers of darkness, and we experience 100% evil. And that's what's going on right now. We're experiencing 100% evil. And it has been delivered to us through the flesh of others. But God's mercy is so much that we can't comprehend it. But if you don't obey him, he'll limit his mercy. And Satan's power, he will allow in to discipline us as well. Remember with Job, and how Job dealt with going through a lot. His body was suffering worms. He was going through a tremendous suffering. But the Lord limited what Satan could do and told him, don't touch his soul, don't touch his life. And so Satan had to back up. And so God is the one that is not but two ways. I want to close with this. Let us be continually in prayer, because it's not but two ways anything in this world can happen out of this world, and that is the Lord either ordains it or he allow it. So when we're going through trials and tribulation, either God called this upon us because of our stiff-necked, hard-headed, not want to obey him, and live the life we want to live, not according to his word. This is the thing, if you really want to stop it, this is the thing we got to make sure we're doing right. That is worship him, serve him, obey him. And then, granted, there's some things that man is smart enough to do. God has given that wisdom. but only God can stop it. So don't let this preoccupy your mind, and do not, whatever you do, don't let this fear overcome you. We don't have to fear. We just have to obey. If you want God's blessing, and if you want His keeping, He's always there. May God bless you, and may God keep you, and let us continue to worship and serve Him, and obey the laws of the land. You're a child of God, and God wants you to do that. May God bless you, may God keep you. We ask you to please visit us again. God bless you.